African Trade Fair, IATF 2027, one of the largest trade gatherings on the African continent. So where are those who are saying that Nigeria is losing its position on the international stage? Nigeria is not losing. Nigeria is actually gaining its seat back on the international stage, on the international table, across various sectors. In 2026, again, our newly appointed ambassadors will take up their post in their countries of assignment. Of course, their clearance and confirmation has just been made by the National Assembly. This is strengthening our bilateral relations and advancing our visibility and strategic engagement in the global community. Before this time, we have had cries and complaints and agitations for ambassadors to be put on their post. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has fulfilled that, and for the remaining part, that will be carried out in 2026. In the media and information and communication space, and this is the one that should interest you, ladies and gentlemen here. This year, Nigeria secured the hosting rights for both the 2026 World Public Relations Forum and the 2026 African Public Relations Association's Conference. Now, this is a gathering of all the leaders from around the world in the public relations and communication space. All of them have agreed through the effort of the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, and other government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other government agencies, with the active support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The world will come to Nigeria again in 2026. And let me emphasize that we made history by these two singular acts, by becoming only the second African country to ever host the WPRF, the World Public Relations Forum. It's the second time any African country would be hosting that, and it is coming to Nigeria. And the first ever, this is the first ever time that any country on the African continent will host both the APRA conference and the World Public Relations Forum in the same year. It has never happened before. Infrastructure, roads, rail, power, and ports, 26.08 trillion. 2, it is the single biggest allocation of 5.41 trillion to defense and security, a direct investment in protecting lives, property and prosperity through modern equipment for our armed forces, a new national intelligence architecture, and a secure digital border surveillance system. This indicates to you that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is putting a renewed focus on the security of lives and property of all Nigerians. And his promise is that in 2026, Nigeria is going to witness a very secure country by the grace of God. This budget, this 2026 budget that was just presented by Mr. President, is funded by very prudent assumptions. 1, oil is at 64.85 barrel, $64.85 per barrel, sorry. Production is at 1.84 million barrels per day, and an exchange rate that is put at 1,400 naira. We will fund the deficit through an aggressive digitized revenue mobilization drive, ensuring that every liable entity pays its fair share without imposing unfair burden on anyone. President Tinubu has also vowed that 2026 will see a full unification of our existing budget cycles, and we will henceforth operate on a single unified budget that is backed by a single revenue cycle. This is the promise of Mr. President. This, of course, is an answer to the people who are saying we're having multiple budgets operating within the same year. That has come to an end with the budget that Mr. President has presented to the National Assembly. That budget sets the stage for a year in which the landmark new tax reform laws will go into operation. This will usher in an era of fiscal growth and a deepening of the social contract between the government and the people of Nigeria. We call for the understanding of Nigerians in this regard, as it promises to be a new era of accountability in revenue generation and government expenditure. Of course, you hear all kinds of talk related to that budget, that tax regime that is coming into effect in January of 2026. But the promise of Mr. President is that there will be accountability in revenue generation, and there will also be prudent expenditure by government to justify that reform in the first place. My conclusion is this, my dear colleagues: the journey of 2025 was one of reinforcing and strengthening the foundations of the Nigerian economy. The mission of 2026 is to raise the edifice of a secure, competitive, and prosperous Nigeria upon that. In 2025, we were reinforcing those foundations. In 2026, we are raising a solid edifice of a secure, competitive, and prosperous Nigeria on that very solid foundation. The temporary pains of reforms are yielding to permanent gains. President Tinubu's vision for Nigeria is big, his strategy is unambiguous, and his resolve is unshakable. We are consolidating stability. We are protecting our homeland. We are empowering our youth. We are building a nation where every citizen has the agency to thrive and to succeed in this country. This is the Nigeria that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is building. Together with all of you, together with all Nigerians, there is indeed in the horizon a Nigeria that is truly on the move, a Nigeria that will be a darling for all those living outside this country. Once again, compliments of the season to all of you, my dear colleagues. Happy Christmas and the New Year ahead. I promised you that I was not going to bore you with grammar, and I think I didn't. All I did was to present to you facts. If you want to counter this, please counter us on facts, not on emotions. Nigeria is on the rise truly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we please give the Honorable Minister a round of applause? Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you. You may please be seated. Thank you. So at this time, we'll take questions from members of the press. But before then, permit me, I omitted a very important part of the dignitaries that we have here with us. Permit me to recognize the respected directors in the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation with us this morning. Thank you very much for coming, Sir Zama. Also have the members of the APC support group with us this afternoon. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Without wasting any much time, we'll move straight to questions from the members of the press. You know the drill. State your name for the record purpose and straight to the question. I think we'll take the first 3 questions, and as the Honorable Minister's permit, we'll go. So, number 1, can we just raise those hands a bit higher so that I can see them? And number 2, the gentleman on blue. Okay, I can't see any other hand. All right, we'll work with these 2.
Honorable Minister, sir. My name is Abdurrahman Abdurraouf. I work with Blueprint Newspaper. Well, reports were rendered, no doubt about it. But two questions bordering on this terrorism tax. On tax revenue, on this tax, initiative which is scheduled to take off January 1, there are concerns from the National Assembly that what they passed was not what was signed by Mr. President. What is the executive really doing to address that area? That's the first part of the questions. Then the second leg has to do with terrorism. Again, the NBA, yes, the federal government is determined. You are putting kidnapping and any armed group targeting our children, like you rightly said. For me, I want them, damaged, killed. But the NBA is raising a very serious concern that it is very dangerous for us to do that. Must we remain on this pedestal of killing in the name of some human rights? Are you talking to the NBA? Are you calling them so that you can sit together? Let them see reasons with us, because there won't be any basis for somebody to kill my relations. And in the name of not killing people or not making it a general thing, you now say, okay, those people should not be killed. They should not be put on the same pedestal with terrorists. I'm talking of these kidnappers and armed gangs who torture their victims. Thank you, sir, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. We'll take the next question on that table, and the Honorable Minister will address them.
Good morning, Minister. My name is Anayo Chukwabu. I work for Tel Magazine, and I have just three small questions. The first one re-echoes what my brother just said. In the tax laws, with the controversy we are hearing from the National Assembly, would you mind confirming which of the versions that you will be implementing from 2026? Then on the issue of budget, presently we are running two budgets simultaneously, that is 2024 and 2025. And now we are going to add 2026. You haven't told us the budget performance of the two we are running simultaneously now. So can you please further tell us how these three budgets will be successfully implemented in 2026? Then the US agreement, the partnership that they would do 2.8 and we will do 3 trillion. What are the details? What is US going to provide? And what is Nigeria going to provide? Then finally, you forgot to mention the cooperation with France. Would you please tell us exactly what France is doing at the FRS sector, at the revenue sector? We used to know French working in Nigeria under the cultural group, staging concerts and music performance. And then this is at a time when France is not popular in West Africa, where Nigeria plays a leading role. So why would Nigeria be hugging France when the rest of West Africa, especially the Francophone West African countries, are running away from France? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The Minister will now respond.
Thank you very much. The first one is from Abdurraouf. He had two questions. One was on the tax. He asked which one was passed and which one is a true reflection of the document that we have prepared for 2026. To be honest with you, I have not seen the two versions. All I know is that the executive has presented something to the National Assembly. It was processed, it was passed, it was returned to the executive. What I heard is that the National Assembly members have seen some discrepancy and they have set up their own committee to look at those discrepancies. I think it is important for us to wait for the National Assembly to look at this again to tell us that yes, indeed, there were discrepancies or not. This is, as at this point, an affair of the National Assembly to which I have no jurisdiction and I have no, the authority to speak about. Let's wait for this from the National Assembly, and then if we require to make further clarifications, we can. But at this point, we know that a tax document has been put forward to the National Assembly. They have worked on it and they have returned it, and it has been passed, it has been signed into law. There is also the issue of terrorism, and the Nigerian Bar Association may be talking about some human rights or whatever. Now, I'm not aware of the specific thing you want to talk about, but what I can say is that I cannot see human rights where somebody, for example, comes into this room and starts shooting at people. I don't know how human rights will stop you first. First, I think, is to defend yourself. And Nigeria has to defend itself as a country, observing the highest standards of procedure. All our armed forces are trained, they are having collaboration with their international partners, and they are following strict protocols of engagement with terrorists or whoever they are engaging with. And I think that we must commend the Nigerian security agencies for observing that. But where there are specific issues, I want to believe that the security agencies, the high command of security agencies will address those issues. But for now, I know that they are trained, the Nigerian security agencies are well trained. They are also observing strict protocols of engagement. If indeed there are areas of complaints or disagreements about how they engage, I want to believe that this will be taken up in specific terms and will be dealt with appropriately. This is tied to also the question on the tax, which the man from Tel magazine has also talked about, which version. As far as the government of Nigeria is concerned, there's only one version of that tax document. Again, like I said earlier, if the National Assembly is able to establish, because they have set up also a small committee to look into that. So let's wait for the outcome of that. Now, he talked about the budget cycle. And I think if you listen to me attentively while I was speaking, what I was saying was that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is determined to end all these multiple budgeting system within a given period. And that is why he has promised, and he mentioned it on the floor of the National Assembly, that there will be one 2026 budget that will operate within that time frame. Now, there is also a question about the U.S. agreement with Nigeria concerning the health sector. If you also listen very well, I mentioned that the United States government is going to contribute about $2.1 billion, and the remaining $3 billion will be provided as counterpart funding for Nigeria. And this is the biggest kind of collaboration within the health sector that even the United States has engaged upon. I think what is instructive is that at a point that people believe that America has turned its back on Nigeria, America is indeed coming back to Nigeria, re-engaging with Nigeria in multiple fronts. In security, you saw the congressional leaders when they came here. You saw the kind of comments that they have made. You also saw that there is another push by the American government to collaborate with Nigeria in the health sector to drive health reform in this country. So the most important thing for me is that window of opportunity to re-engage with the United States of America for the benefit of our own people, having respect for each other, having respect for our constitution and for our traditions and for our culture. I think these are. Then there was a point about France cooperation. There is a mention that at the time that everyone is running away from France, this Nigeria is an open country. Nigeria is a country that has partnerships with everyone around the globe and will continue to maintain and seek cooperation by all members of the international community in the interest of Nigeria for our security, for our growth, and for the overall prosperity of our country. This is my answer to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, can we still take one more?
If there is one more, let me take one more.
Take one more. I think Mr. Sonny Daniels will have that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for having this session to explain the key activities, policies, and programs that the federal government has undertaken to give Nigerians some space for breathing. And it helps to take this message to Nigerians. Though it feels that the government can still do more to bring down the cost of living, to give more relief to Nigerians, especially at this festive period. Let me draw your attention to the issue you missed. The point is that the Nigerian Bar Association is frontally opposed to the imposition of death penalty for kidnapping, mass abductions. And that's what my colleague, Anayo, was drawing your attention to, and to find out how the federal government feels about that position. Because NBA, National Human Rights Commission, all of them are opposed to death penalty for kidnapping and abductions. There is this federal government into Safe School initiative and some huge amount of money. I would have expected you to, if this money, how was it used since particularly school children has continued unabated? What happened to that scheme, Safe School Initiative? Federal government, was the money used? How was it used? And to have children. Thank you. You may wish to address that, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I was looking for the microphone that was here. Thank you for your comments and for the clarifications again that you have made. What I can tell you is that Nigerian government acts strictly within our laws. Nigerian government will not do anything that is not consistent with the laws of the Federation. If there is the need to adapt or to modify these laws, we have the National Assembly to consult and to take there so that we can have a response. But for now, it is important to say that Nigeria, as a sovereign country, has its laws and is being governed by these laws. And all the operators, including the security agencies, are acting within the ambit, within the parameters of those laws. Now, the Safe School Initiative and why are there mass abductions? I think that we should be very optimistic. And that is the optimism that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wants to share with Nigerians. We have had this very unfortunate situation in the past. We do not hope to see that there will be continuous mass abduction in our schools going forward. This is not the prayer, and there is so much that government is doing to see that that has abated. Recall that when this happened, the federal government even had to close down some of its unity schools. But I'm happy to announce that some of these, about unity schools, about 44 of them have actually resumed even before the Yuletide. Now, what that indicates to me is that there is a progression towards normalcy and stability amongst our schools, which the federal government will continue to consolidate as we go into 2026. You talked about what will happen to the monies that were. Of course, if you don't provide a service, the way government works, government does not give you money to go and provide. If you provide service, you get paid for that service. If that service is not provided, the normal thing is that you don't get paid about that. I don't think that the federal government will just continue to throw away money even when that service is not being carried out. If there are specific issues related to specific areas or schools, I want to believe that the federal government of Nigeria will address those matters specifically. But there is no wholesale approach to continue to throw in money where services are not provided. Now, cost of living, yes, is important, and the president has been consistent also on this. His desire is that the cost of living for the ordinary Nigerian continues to come down. This is what he is actively working in day and night. And the budget of 2026, if you look at parts of that, is also specifically targeting those while also providing the security of lives and property that you need, that all Nigerians require for there to be prosperity, for there to be development within Nigeria. And I want to assure you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will continue to work down to cut down on the cost of living of all Nigerians. Let us be hopeful. Let us also be supportful, or have support for the president in his drive to ensure that this happens in 2026. I think optimism is very critical for nation building, and we need to adopt that going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Indeed, you've spoken well. Well done, sir. Thank you. Permit me to recognize the presence of the National President of the Radio, Television, Theatre and Arts Workers Union of Nigeria, Retau, the President of Prince Emeka Kalu. Thank you for coming today. We appreciate you. With that, we'll bring this event to a close. Special appreciation goes to our media partners who have carried this press conference live. We have the Nigerian Television Authority, the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Arise TV, TVC, AIT channels, and the list goes on and on. Thank you very much for your service. So I just have a brief announcement to make before we wrap this up. The dignitaries, the Honorable Minister, come by the Permanent Secretary. All right. The Honorable Minister, accompanied by the Permanent Secretary, as well as the Director Generals and those in the front row, will make their way to the VIP room where they are lodged. All right. In a walk like this, we are always redirected. So we'll bring this event to a close, and then a further announcement will be made after we're closed with this session. So will you please rise as we take the national pledge to bring this press conference to a close. At the count of 2, 1, 2. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity and uphold her honor and glory. So help me God. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.